This is The Sports Life.
0-1 the count. He'll swing and knock this one high and deep to right field, to the track, to the wall, and gone!
Good night, Irene. J.T. Sokolov with a walk-off here at the bottom of the 11th inning. He got that one up to the jet stream, and he is going to get mobbed at home plate and maybe a Gatorade bath as well.
And welcome into the Sports Life. We'll team in here along with Dalton Shetler. The call you heard was Scott Moore and Jim Cotter as Michigan State, with that walk-off homer, knocks off Ohio State. It took 11, but they got it done. And for the Spartans, it was a sweep for last weekend, which is pretty good for the Spartan baseball program. But Dalton, the key to this whole thing, when you're playing those kind of clips, I'm thinking summer. It's coming. It's really coming.
You hear that? And you know, that's baseball, it's summer, it's peanuts, Cracker Jacks, the whole 9 yards.
Well, this week we have a really nice show lined up for you. We're going to touch on a lot of bases. And one of the people joining us is Tim May from Lettermen Row, the veteran writer covering Ohio State football. And we're really going to delve into the possibilities here with the Buckeyes. Can or can they not regroup enough to repeat as national champs?
And that's going to be really interesting. And also, if you're a Big Ten basketball fan, look, the college basketball season just finished about 3 weeks ago, but what the teams look like is almost unrecognizable to what it was at the end of that season. We're going to be joined by Ant Wright, who played at Michigan and now is a Big Ten basketball expert on his own channels at It's Ant Wright. And we're going to be learning a little bit more about what Big Ten teams look like now here towards the end of April. And also, we're going to be joined by the Big Ten Goaltender of the Year, Trey Augustine of Michigan State Hockey, as he's announced he's coming back to East Lansing. We'll find out why later on.
Okay, let's get going with our Sounds of the Week.
Well, we talk about in national championships, all those different things. There's a new one for Big Ten sports. The men's gymnastics national championship goes to the University of Michigan. And Fred Richard actually was on the Big Ten Network, a gymnast for the University of Michigan, to talk about winning the national championship in Ann Arbor in front of the Wolverine fans.
Yeah, I mean, that was big. I don't know if we would have been able to do it without them. Not only just the energy in the stadium when we're competing, but when you know it's going to be hosted in Ann Arbor, for the year before, we're locked in. We refuse to not take home that championship with all our fans watching. So it really pushed us in the gym every single day, and it made it happen.
And it did happen. So good for the Wolverines, because I don't care what the sport is. When you're national champs, that's pretty good.
Absolutely it is. It's a really cool thing. We're going to move over to some spring football, and throughout many of the future weeks here and shows of the Sports Life, we're going to be talking about some Big Ten football and taking a look throughout the spring. But a lot of coaches have been in front of microphones recently talking a little bit about their teams and their programs. Michigan State head coach Jonathan Smith moves on from year 1 to year 2 in East Lansing, and he talked a little bit on the Big Ten Network as well about what he and this staff has learned as they head in to their second year in East Lansing.
Well, you definitely learn a ton, right, in year one, in a lot of different areas that, pride, tradition, passion of the Big Ten and that football, being able to experience for a year was great, but also knowing that what this league entails. This thing is competitive, physical on both sides. We got some elite coaches, I think some skill players in this league that are talented as all get out. And so you learn what it looks like and where you got to take steps in your own roster, your own schemes, but feel good that we're ready to do that. After learning in year one, experiencing, did some good things, some things we got to do better. We've emphasized those and feel good that, going into year two, we're going to be better in a lot of areas.
Jonathan Smith, the head football coach at Michigan State University, he said a ton there, because I've often thought that the Big Ten gets not enough credit for the great fans, the intensity. In the intensity, I'm going to hit that a second time, because there are some conferences where, okay, we got a tough game this week, and then the next two aren't so tough. There's no pass on any of these games.
No, I think you're spot on. And another program that's kind of had to learn that throughout time was Nebraska, who joined the Big Ten Conference back in 2011. And as they still try to get back to the Nebraska standard, right? I mean, they finally got to the postseason this past year under Matt Rule. As they head into the next year, they already have the superstar quarterback in Dylan Raiola. And Nebraska head coach Matt Rule talked a little bit about the progression of Dylan Raiola and what that next step is for the Huskers and Dylan heading into next season.
Honestly, I think he's made it. I think, when you look at great quarterbacks though on the field, I think he's made a big step in the offseason, I should say. Just his development, his mindset, just his growth. I've been really proud. And the next step is, taking the ball at the end of the game, sometimes even against insurmountable odds, and going down and winning the game. Throwing touchdowns in the red zone and tight windows. It's not making the easy play; it's making the tough plays. And so he's never shied away from that. He's made a ton of big plays. But we're gonna be in some tough games down the stretch, and we have to be able to hand the ball to Dylan. He takes his offense out there, and they go win the game.
Well, Matt Rule said a lot there as well, because when you think about a freshman quarterback at this level, go back to that Nebraska season and just go to the end of some of those fourth quarters. I'm guessing he'll be a little better this year than last year.
Oh, I think that's fair. And I think everybody who watched Nebraska this last year said, oh, he's got all the makings. It's just about putting it all together. And it seems like it really easily could be Dylan Raiola who takes Nebraska to that next level that they're hoping to get back to. A program that's done really well in their first year in the Big Ten was Oregon. Ended up winning the conference. Big Ten champions. Of course, fell in the college football playoff, but had a wonderful season. But Dan Lanning now no longer has his superstar quarterback, Dylan Gabriel. So the Ducks got to get back in line and see who that next quarterback is going to be to lead things in Eugene. And here's head coach Dan Lanning talking about that quarterback room and who's impressing so far out of that group.
We're going to see all of our quarterbacks, and they've all done a phenomenal job this spring. Austin, Dante, you'll see KJ, Luke Moga, Brock Thomas. There's been some really competitive periods in practice, and those guys are taking advantage of it. So we just want to see them go out there and operate clean, protect the ball, take advantage of opportunities when they have that chance, and throw the ball down the field when we get an opportunity as well. I think experience is the great equalizer at quarterback, and it's probably more important there. It's easy to talk through a play on a diagram or on film. It's a little bit different when there's live rushers coming at you, and those guys have handled it really well this spring. Coach Stein and offensive staff have really challenged them from the amount of install that they can handle and the freedom that our quarterback has to make checks and get us in the right place.
Dan Lanning, the head football coach at Oregon. And the one thing he mentioned there that I find kind of interesting, he talked about experience. Okay, we talked about Gabriel, right? Mm-hmm. Well, he came in last year as a one-year guy with experience, but not in that system. And I think one of the things they've been able to do there that's pretty impressive, they've had several seasons of one-year guys, and somehow once they get past the first couple games, they are all dialed in.
Hey, you credit that a lot to the coaching and the system, right? I mean, what Dan Lanning's been able to do there and the talent accumulation that program has been able to bring in some real studs that have really elevated that program. And again, they won the league in year one. There aren't too many teams that come into the Big Ten and win in year one.
Well, when we come back, we're going to tackle the question with Tim May. Is Ohio State good enough to be a repeat national champion? It's all coming up in just a moment.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Dad. Did you get a new haircut or something? A new shirt? You're looking good.
What happened?
A little fender bender?
How little?
A few days in the shop little. But thanks to Mom and our agent, we've already submitted a claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Sounds like simple human sense.
I'm fine, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I was going to ask.
Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you.
Every kid deserves a chance to feel safe, to have their own bed, to be loved and cared for. That's why I love my foster parents. They make me feel like part of the family.
Raise hope and foster dreams for one of 13,000 Michigan children in foster care. Visit michigan.gov/hope for a home or call 855-MICH-KIDS. That's 855-MICH-KIDS. Sponsored by the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services and the Michigan Association of Broadcasters.
Do you hear that? That's the sound of uncertainty lurking under your hood. You know the feeling. I know I do. That sudden sinking sensation when you see a check engine light or your car unexpectedly breaks down and you're faced with sky-high repair bills. It's time to shield against unexpected repairs with CarShield. CarShield is America's most trusted auto protection company and has an A rating with the Better Business Bureau. Don't let the fear of a breakdown keep you up at night. Trust the Shield, CarShield, and say goodbye to terrifying repair bills and hello to peace of mind. Your plan also comes with 24/7 roadside assistance, courtesy towing, rental car options, and so much more. Don't wait till it's too late. Call CarShield now before a breakdown. Protect your wallet. Protect your car with CarShield. Get our best protection ever. Call now. You'll thank me later. 800-965-1292. 800-965-1292. That's 800-965-1292.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
Roxanne Watson is on a mission.
Hello, how are you doing today?
She wants more people to register as organ, eye, and tissue donors.
Are you an organ donor? Yes, I am. Yay. My goal is to sign up the most people in the United States.
What drives her? Roxanne's own life was saved through the gift of a heart transplant, made possible by an organ donor.
I decided that day that I was going to devote myself to the cause of organ donation and signing people up and honoring my donor by doing that.
Now she's back to health, and she's a powerful force helping to save lives every day through her work. Imagine what you can make possible by leaving behind the gift of life.
8 people can be helped with the major organs, and up to 50 people can be helped with a little bit of everything. And when you think about it that way, that you could help that many people, it's amazing. It really is.
Learn more and sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
And welcome back for more of the Sports Life. We'll team in here along with Dalton Shetler. Well, joining us today on the show is Tim May from Lettermen Row, longtime friend of the Sports Life. And clearly, I think Dalton would agree, is one of the most knowledgeable and engaging guests we've ever had on this program. Now, Tim's fielded expertise, Ohio State football, a team that he has covered since 1984 when he joined the Columbus Dispatch. And Tim, welcome back to the show. And our first question is probably fairly obvious. Ohio State, the national defending champions, they got to rebuild a little bit. Can they repeat?
Yeah, they look like they have the talent. You know, Brian Day says it best. Forget about what I think, right? But this is in so many ways not totally different because there are guys back. Caleb Downs is back, the best safety, maybe the best defensive back, and maybe the best defensive player in the country. Jeremiah Smith is back, maybe the best offensive player in the country. So they're not bereft of talent. But that's the point. This is a talented but relatively inexperienced team, young team, and which was exactly the opposite of last year, especially at this time when the transfer guys had shown up and all those guys had opted to come back for another shot at it. You know, Emeka Egbuka, Jack Sawyer, JT Tuimoloau, and all those guys opted to come back. And you could just see that team could only disappoint, and it did twice, right? But then it got its act together and ran roughshod through the playoffs. And this is a team that's going to have to grow on you to a certain extent when you consider they lost 8 starters from that defense, which was the number 1 defense in the country in total defense and against the score, which are the 2 major categories, right? Everything else is just fluff. So they're replacing that, also replacing their defensive coordinator with Jim Knowles going to Penn State after 3 seasons at Ohio State and flipping that ship around. And now you got Matt Patricia who's come in, and everybody raves about Matt Patricia. The players do, about his different style, his idea of getting guys in different positions to make plays, etc., playing on their strengths. Jim Knowles did that for the most part. Most people do that too, but Matt Patricia maybe takes it to another level. And then offensively, losing your starting quarterback, your 2 great running backs, one of your just soul of the team kind of leaders in Emeka Egbuka. Josh Simmons, the left tackle on Ohio State, only played half the year last year before suffering a knee injury. Maybe the first left tackle taken in the NFL draft. We'll see how that goes. Then you're also losing your Remington Award winner, who also got hurt before the regular season was over, Seth McLaughlin. He was a Remington Award winner, is all he was at center. Right on down the line, you're basically your number one tight end and G. Scott Jr. So a lot of the core of that team is gone now. I mean, Will Howard, boy, did he grow into, I think, the best quarterback in the country at the end of the season. And so you're going to have a first-time starting quarterback. There's talent at that position. I know I'm going on and on, but this is just a totally different – coaches say it all the time, but this is a totally different team with a few guys you recognize.
Well, Tim, I think there's quite a few storylines to really tackle, and you brought up a couple of them. So I'll stay with offense because it's where you left off. That quarterback position, I mean, you talked about Will Howard. He was new to Ohio State, but he wasn't new to big games at the time, and he was an experienced guy leading that Buckeye offense. Take us to the quarterback position room right now and what the battles are. Who's maybe got the inside track right now for Ohio State?
Well, you think based on we don't get to see all of spring practice, but we got to see quite a bit. And the two major scrimmages that we got to watch. One was the Student Appreciation Day, where the last 30 plays or so, I'm standing. They let the students stand right behind the offensive huddle and watch things. And considering myself a student of the game, I found myself right there again. And in that scrimmage, Lincoln Keenholz, who's been going on his third season at Ohio State, in my opinion, was the better quarterback, was the more poised, the more comfortable looking. Julian Sayin looked uncomfortable. The highly prized transfer they got from Alabama after he'd been in Alabama for 3 weeks or 2 weeks last year ended up being, in essence, the backup to Devin Brown, who was the backup to Will Howard as the season progressed. He didn't look that comfortable, but he's the guy that everybody expected to win the job and expects to win the job. But that day you go, no, Lincoln Keenholz is the guy. Then they have the spring game and you go, no, Julian Sayin's the guy. So that's sort of the yo-yo that Ryan Day and his coaching staff, led by now bona fide offensive coordinator Brian Hartline and quarterbacks coach Billy Fessler, they're dealing with. And they've only got one other scholarship guy in that room as we speak, Tavian St. Clair, the freshman out of Bellefontaine, Ohio, who's, he and Bryce Underwood considered the top 2-3 quarterbacks in the country in the 2025 recruiting class. So it's basically a two-man race. And coming out of the spring game, you go, okay, now Julian Sayin has the lead. Now, will that stick through the preseason camp, over off-season workouts and in a preseason camp? That remains to be seen. But Julian Sayin, touches all the buttons. In my opinion, Lincoln Keenholz was the Gatorade Athlete of the Year, or whatever you want to call it, coming out of Pierre, South Dakota. But he played every sport imaginable, but was really good at football, basketball, and baseball. And now that he's majored in football, he's gained he came in at 185, about 6'1", 6'2", 185. Now he's 210 pounds, 211 pounds. And very much looks the part of a Big Ten quarterback. The thing that makes the decision at that spot so urgent, and urgent to me is not maybe the same as to the coaches, is they open with Texas, and that's not opening. They play Grambling, I think, the second game. You would like that reversed if you could get it that way, but such is not the case. And we know Texas is going to be led by Arch Manning, and who started a handful of games for Texas, but he'll be it'll be his first stint as the bona fide real-time starter for Texas. Also, the game's in Ohio Stadium, August 30th. Get your tickets now.
Well, Tim, it seems under the reign of head coach Ryan Day, he's had a multitude of coordinators, offensively and defensively, and I wonder, as he matures as a head coach, is he a hands-on guy, or does he give these coordinators a little freedom?
Well, he named Brian Hartline as his offensive coordinator in 2023. And then as the spring progressed and preseason progressed, he just I think it was more Ryan Day didn't feel comfortable not being the guy more than it was he didn't feel comfortable with Brian Hartline being the guy. And, Brian Hartline, who's done wonders with the Ohio State wide receiver room, both recruiting and coaching. Everybody, just in case someone doesn't know who he is, former player at Ohio State, former 11-year player in the National Football League. So I think Ryan Day feels pretty comfortable. But what Ryan Day learned last year more than anything else was how to be that finally a bona fide head coach looking over everything. Because when the defense needed a shakeup in the middle of the year after the Oregon game, he stepped in there and made a few observations, demands, whatever you want to call it, and the defense definitely got its act together and went on and became the best defense in the country. And offensively, they weren't the best offense in the country, but efficiency-wise, they grew into basically the most efficient offense in the country, especially in the college football playoffs. And so I think he feels very comfortable now as the head coach. And the other thing is he's not wearing that backpack with 250 pounds in it now about not being able to win a national championship. He's won big games. Don't let anybody, when they argue about Ryan Day, tell you he hadn't won big games, but he has lost 4 straight games to Michigan. That'll be the hurdle. That's what will keep him fired up and ready to go as this season progresses, for sure. But he's won a national championship now, and just ask Tom Izzo, that changes a man.
Tim, our back's against the wall a little bit here time-wise, so we're putting on a 25-second play clock. You were talking about coaching staff and coordinators. I wanted to ask you the biggest difference with Matt Patricia versus how things ran with Jim Knowles. What can we expect?
A little bit more of a guy that sees strengths and weaknesses in an offense and attacks them maybe more vigorously with placement of players, how guys line up, where they line up. Very Rolodex kind of guy, especially with the secondary. But Jim Knowles was a lot like that too.
Well, Tim, as always, we appreciate it. Kickoff's not too far away, even though we got a full summer to go.
You should have gone with that play clock earlier is all I got to say.
I appreciate it, Tim.
Always a pleasure, fellas.
Tim May. And we should also note, I don't think, Dalton, we've ever said this, but in 2014, his work was honored by the Football Writers Association of America for being named the National College Football Beat Writer of the Year. Well, when we come back with more of the Sports Life, we're going to talk some Big Ten hoops, but first a break.
So, I got one for you, boss.
Oh, yeah?
What's black, white, and dented all over?
I give up.
The company truck. I know, but thanks to our agent, we've already submitted an insurance claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Lucky for you, that's simple human sense.
Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you.
Here's a real-life story that affects 50% of all of us out there. It's called divorce. If you've gotten divorced and now you're struggling to pay your bills and your credit card debts are completely out of control, you need to call this special debt relief hotline right now. We help people with all kinds of money problems caused by different life challenges, a divorce, a job loss, even heavy medical bills. All these life events can sometimes financially stress you out and cause you to get out of control. We help people get their lives back by showing them ways to consolidate and reduce their debt, in some cases for a fraction of what they owe. If your credit card balances are more than $10,000, call us and learn how to reduce your credit card bills and monthly payments now. Here's our number.
Paid for by Debt.com. Call now, 800-810-1584, 800-810-1584, 800-810-1584. That's 800-810-1584.
That ought to do it. Totally energy efficient.
Oh no, not again. This time, we're getting help.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the battle of energy efficiency improvements. In this corner, Mr. I can save money and do it on my own. And in this corner, Miss Let's get it done right with some help. Fight!
Or you could just go to avoidenergydrama.com. From sealing your home to helpful loan options, you'll find all the tips and tools you need to stop wasting energy and stay comfortable. Avoidenergydrama.com. Brought to you by Michigan Saves.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
Unlike other health concerns, mental illness is not always easy to see. Depression won't show up on an eye chart, and you can't measure it on your bathroom scale. Sorting out a mental health concern is not something to attempt on your own. You won't find a bipolar disorder by looking at a thermometer. Like many other health conditions, help for mental illness takes professional diagnosis and treatment. Anxiety won't just go away under a stick-on bandage. So the sooner you seek treatment, the better. If you or a loved one has a mental health concern, don't go it alone. Find out what to do. For 24-hour free and confidential information and treatment referral, call 1-800-662-HELP. Learn more at samhsa.gov/support. That's samhsa.gov/support.
And welcome back for more of the Sports Life. We'll team in here along with Dalton Shetler. And don't forget, Auto Owners Insurance, simple human sense. Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you. Well, Ant Wright is a former University of Michigan basketball player. He played for the Wolverines from 2006 and 7 to 2009 and 10. And he's become extremely popular on social media due to his extensive knowledge about Big Ten basketball. Well, this week we've asked Ant to make his first appearance on our show because he's kind of got the goods and we have some questions. So, Ant, welcome into the show. Why don't we just start off by talking about what you perceive to be the biggest change of the landscape in the upcoming season for college basketball?
Man, honestly, it comes down to, like, we saw the portal last year, right? We saw how chaotic it was. We saw how teams kind of structured their rosters. And I feel like it was a bunch of hoarding last year. I think a few teams, they were really, really cognizant of, like, how should I build this team? Where should I get guys? But this year I'm seeing a lot more fine details being put into it where it's, I don't see teams out there just getting the highest ranked guy for every position because you don't need 5 scores. Right? If you have 5 scores, who's your rebounder? Who's your gritty guy? Who's your glue guy? Who's your defender? Who's the guy that's, going to finish at a high level around the basket? Who's the guy that's going to be able to come off the bench and give you an instant spark? I feel that there's a lot of much better roster construction going on. I'm looking at Purdue. Like, Purdue has brought in 2 portal guys, right? They haven't done that before. I'm looking at Illinois. I mean, they're over on the eastern part of Europe, just kind of hanging out, pulling every guy out of a gym and asking them if you want to play Big Ten basketball. You're looking at a lot of in-conference transfers. I know that Xavier Booker just went to UCLA, but Ademara just went to Michigan. Rodney Rice just committed to USC from Maryland. You're looking at Wesley Yates, who any other year he's probably might have been in the running for freshman of the year, who wasn't even on the all freshman team because it was so stacked. He goes to Washington. You see, I call him Baby Sanford, but Price Sanford, Iowa to Nebraska. So you're seeing a whole lot of like interconference stuff moving that I didn't see as much last year. But yeah, it's I feel that a lot of teams are really focusing on, which they should have been doing for years now, but they're really focusing on, hey, we got to retain the guys that we want, A. B, we need to not only, patch up the holes, but we got to get deeper. We got to get better at more positions. And you know what? We got to get much older. We're looking at the Final Four. These guys, outside of Duke, like, these guys were really old. So we got to get older, got to get more mature, and we have to be able to compete from the first day moving forward.
And I want to ask a lot about the portal as well, because there's some teams that have been really interesting to follow. But you brought up two teams in there with Purdue and Illinois by name. There's a lot of international love with these two programs this offseason. I was curious if you could update the listeners on the international flavor for both of those programs and how influential they'll be for those two teams this upcoming season.
Yeah, so we can start with Purdue, man. No, I don't have any notes in front of me, so I'm sorry if I miss say something. But Purdue, they have Omer Meyer, who's coming in, who played with like Maccabi Tel Aviv, very very good player, like a 6'4" shooting guard, can really hoop. I mean, you're talking about someone who's like if we're to take like a player that most people know, like imagine like a less talented Kaspers Yakajonis, who's a little bit smaller, around 6'3", 6'4", around 210. Really, really nice player. Really nice player. They have Oscar Clough, and they got as transfers, they have Clough and they have the 6'7" shooter from North Florida. But yeah, Illinois, you guys know Tomislav Ivicic from last year, right? The shooter, lefty. He had a twin brother at Arkansas, Zvonimir. So Big Z has transferred from Arkansas into Illinois. So you legit have two twins who are, 6'11", 7 feet, 7'1", who could do a lot of things, whether it's passing, shooting. Very, very good, highly skilled players. Just got a recruit from Serbia. His name it's escaping me. It's like Mihailo Petrovic, about 6'2", 185, 190. 22-year-old freshman coming in who's played against, put it this way, he's played against former NBA players. He's played against McKinley Wright, very good player. Davis Bertans, remember him in the NBA? He played over 400 games in the league. He played against Nate Mason. If you want to talk about someone, Nate Mason was playing in the Big Ten in 2014, 2015. Right? He's played against him. So it's pretty wild. They got another recruit. I believe his name is like David Merkovich or something. And then they're running for Andres Stojakovic. A lot of itches on that roster. I made a joke the other day, said that, possible starting five. I gave like I put down like the 3 Europeans, and then Ty Rodgers and Colin Boswell. I just made those into like European names, and people loved it. And what was so funny is the following day, a Petrovic commits. I thought the timing was pretty funny on that. But that was one thing that I was kind of afraid about Illinois. I'm like, Illinois got some talent. They don't have anybody really run this team. I was going to host a space at like 1:30, but my daughter was crying, so I couldn't do it. And then sure enough, they get a point guard commit 45 minutes later. So yeah, like you're gonna see some names, you're gonna see some all Big Ten guys, you're gonna see some preseason all Big Ten names that you're just like, where's this guy from? Who is this? He's how old? Like, what's going on here? But the whole landscape is changing because of yes, it's NIL and rev share and all that. And it's good for the kids. It's really bad for high school recruits because now Europeans and overseas guys are like, wait a minute, I can go play college basketball. And it's like, man, I'm sorry if I'm rambling, but it's almost twofold because international players, they want to Americanize their game a bit because they feel that Americans play a different brand of basketball and it makes them better to a certain point. And they want to always Americanize their game. But before, if they did that, they'll be losing out on revenue. But now they're able to make 6 figures or 7 figures, right? Now, we'll see how the rev share is with like the visas and the contracts, because before there was a big issue with like visas allowing to make money and all that. So we'll see how that part goes. But there is a big market right now for international players, and there's a big incentive of getting some basically European pros to come over into college ball, and we're seeing that right now with the Big Ten for sure.
Well, and you take somebody like Tom Izzo. He is doing the best he can do to have what he would deem a traditional program, a program where you're vested, where you want to be there, you want to stay there. You're not looking for the first big paycheck to get out the door. With all the things you've just talked about, is it possible for Coach Izzo to continue to do that and still be relevant? Because he was this year.
Yes, he was this year. And you know what really happened this year, I believe, is what allowed Michigan State to get to that level was Jace Richardson and letting him go, right? Because you remember Maui and you saw how that went, and then you're seeing Jace kind of come out of his shell, right? Tom Izzo doesn't just give freshmen a long leash, but Jace almost took the leash himself and said, you know what, we're going to extend this out because I'm going to do so many good things on the court. When I'm out of the game, you're going to be panicking and you're going to want to put me back in the game. But the emergence of Jace really changed this past year. Now, no Jace, Trey Holloman, he makes a decision going into his final year, and then you lose Jaden Akins. And, you really want to be traditional. You can't, right? You can't. It's either you adjust or you're going to get, or you're just not going to get to that same ceiling as before, right? And you have to be able to go overseas. You're going to have to invest in that. You're going to have to invest in those trips. You are going to have to put more time into the portal because this was the first year I think that Michigan State has lost somebody who they didn't want to leave, right? And that throws a bit of a wrench into the traditional aspect because traditionally those guys come back, right?
Yep.
You didn't have a situation where, say, 2 years ago, what if Akins leaves and Tyson Walker leaves? Like, what does that look like, right? Who is Izzo going to go and try to piece back together this broken ship that he's going to feel is sinking, right? So you can keep those traditional values just like Matt Painter has, but you got to have a culture that has roots that are so deep that guys they're going to still be able to believe in that while shutting out a lot of the noise. Because when you're hearing guys are getting 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, and you're like, I'm only getting about 80,000, and they just expect me to just hang out here, right? But my guy just talked to blah, blah, blah state or blah, blah, blah tech, and they said that if I hit the portal, I'm getting 1.2 million, right? So you have to be able to bridge the gap a bit where you can kind of hang on to both, but you just can't be all in traditional anymore or you'll get ran over, unfortunately. But I do like the two guys that he's gotten, and I do think that they do need badly 2 more pieces, at least one. They need a shooting guard at minimum or a combo guard who could run backup if need be, but they need another guard. They only have one guard with experience on the roster, and that's Fears. I know Kurtang is still there, but someone's there, and even the Trey Fort kid who's listed as like a shooting guard, he's still more of a wing to me, where you're not going to give him the ball and kind of say, hey, we need you to get a bucket here. That's just not his game. So being able to just bridge the gap between both traditional and what's going on now in college ball is very, very essential.
And I really appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much.
No, thank you so much for having me on, you guys. Thank you. I'm sorry I talk so much.
Ant Wright making his first appearance, and a memorable one, I might add, on the Sports Life. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk to one of the best hockey goaltenders there is. But first, this time out.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Dad. Did you get a new haircut or something? A new shirt? You're looking good.
What happened?
A little fender bender?
How little?
A few days in the shop little? But thanks to Mom and our agent, we've already submitted a claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto Owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Sounds like simple human sense.
I'm fine, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna ask.
Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you.
So I graduated last year and got a job. Sweet! But it got boring. I didn't really have a purpose. Then I started volunteering with Community Action. It's a statewide network with 29 agencies across Michigan. Community Action helps people with food, housing, utilities, childcare, senior services, you name it. I found my purpose, helping people, changing lives. Won't you join me? Call 1-855-MI-ACTION or go to MichiganCommunityAction.org. Sponsored by Michigan Community Action and Michigan Association of Broadcasters.
This is a potter's field. When people can't pay for their funerals, they are buried here. It is a lonely, desolate place, littered with unmarked headstones. No one visits. No one leaves flowers. But it doesn't have to be that way. For as low as $1 a day, you can ensure your family will have the money to pay your funeral expenses. We offer burial insurance plans that pay up to $30,000. Considering the average funeral costs more than $10,000, that's peace of mind for your family. There are no medical exams, your rates won't increase, and your policy cannot be canceled as long as you make your premium payments. Call now to get approved in minutes and ensure your final resting place is more than just a pauper's grave in a potter's field.
800-562-2407. 800-562-2407. 800-562-2407. That's 800-562-2407. Paid for by Final Expense Direct.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
We all make choices. When it comes to alcohol, kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye, Dad.
Bye-bye.
Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Hey, have a seat for a second. Remind me about that party again?
Alex is just...
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. They want guidance and honest answers to their questions. And it makes a difference when the message is consistent and part of everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
And welcome back for more of the Sports Life. We'll team in here along with Dalton Shetler. Well, today we're going to be joined by last season's youngest starting goaltender in all of college hockey. Yet, he has a resume that clearly does not read that way. This past season, Michigan State sophomore Trey Augustine was a first-team All-American and was honored as the Big Ten's Goaltender of the Year. And Trey, thanks for joining us here on the show this week. And so, instead of talking about this wonderful year you guys just came off of, I thought maybe we'd start off by looking at the last two seasons. In the last 2 years, the Spartans have won back-to-back Big Ten regular season titles, back-to-back Big Ten tournament titles, and back-to-back trips to the NCAA tournament. Now, you don't have to go back too far, Trey, to know that things weren't quite that good before you guys showed up. So the question I think to open everything up with was, how has the last couple of years been for you, and what really turned this program around?
Yeah, I mean, it's really been incredible to kind of see the growth in just the last 2 or 3 years of this program and just everyone around this organization. Obviously, it takes a whole village to kind of get to this point, but just so thankful to be here. And obviously, I think everything kind of stems from the coaching staff and Coach Nightingale and the culture that we have here now. I think without culture, you can't go as far as we have. I think just kind of being around this group and seeing how dialed in everyone is just to accomplish our goals is pretty special.
Well, Trey, you brought up Coach Adam Nightingale, and of course, we've talked a lot about the success he's had pretty quickly there in East Lansing, and I know you have a lot of experience with Team USA, and of course, he was leading the U.S. National Development Program before he took the job at MSU. Your relationship with Nightingale, where does it date back to, and how has it evolved and grown over the years?
Yeah, no, I've known Nighty for a while. The first time I ever met him was when I was playing U15 for Honey Baked, and one of the goalies on his U17 team got hurt, so I came in for a practice just because I was a local kid, and that was my first opportunity I ever got to meet and skate with the NTDP team, and I mean, we've definitely came a long way since then. Just feel like every year our relationship continues to build, and I think it's just kind of that trust that we have in each other, knowing that we're doing all the right things for everyone around us. I think that is kind of really what it stems from.
Well, as you take a look at this thing, Trey, what led you to Michigan State? You're pretty good, and a lot of people would have loved to have you on the team. What really got you to MSU?
I think it always comes back to just the people that are here. I think from the first time I came here to visit with Coach Nightingale and his staff and just all the other employees around the rink, I think there's just that passion and desire, and just everyone is such a super good person. And at the end of the day, that's what's most important to me too. I want to kind of be known for something other than being a great hockey player. I want to be known as a outstanding member of the community. And I think everyone here is a great example of that.
You talk about some of your community work, and we'll talk about some of the awards and recognition you've gotten here in a little bit, but hometown for you is South Lyon, Michigan. You're from the Mitten State. Was that any part of being here at Michigan State as well for you? Was the idea of being close to home, and did you grow up with green and white in the blood?
Yeah, for sure. I always wanted to kind of stay close to home, just being around family, and especially now always having family at all the home games, being able to see them after. It's so special, and I'm so grateful for that. And obviously just kind of being able to go home for a night in the week if I have time, stuff like that is just so important for me. But I really didn't have a ton of green and white in the blood, but I feel like as I got older, just all signs are pointing me in this direction.
You know, Trey, you just mentioned the fact community and wanting to be known for more than just an unbelievable goaltender. You were a finalist for the Sullivan Award, and that celebrates skill. It also celebrates community, leadership, academic achievement. How was it for you to be called into New York as a finalist?
Yeah, it was super cool. Just being able to spend time around those athletes. They're so highly regarded and just also outstanding members of the community. It's something that I definitely didn't take for granted. I'm just very appreciative of just the opportunity to be there and just experience that whole ordeal. But it was just really an honor to be there.
Trey, I mean, we talk about it's 95 years of that award's existence, and you're just the fourth ever hockey player to be invited as one of the finalists to that. And actually, you joined one other Spartan, another goalie in Jeff Lurger in 2007, put the Spartans on his back to the national title back then, the last one for the Big Ten Conference. But when you put it in that frame, you're just the fourth hockey player in 95 years, Trey. That's got to mean something to you.
Yeah, it definitely does, and there definitely could have been a lot more hockey players in between me and all of them, but I think just kind of shows you how competitive award is and how hard it is to get to that point, and just obviously just couldn't thank the AAU organization enough for having me there.
Visiting with Trey Augustine, goalie for Michigan State, the Big Ten champions the last couple of years. Well, Trey, when you look at what you've accomplished this year, first team All-American, Big Ten goaltender of the year, and it's just amazing that you have become the winningest goaltender in Team USA history at the IIHF World Junior Championships. And these are all amazing things to accomplish, which leads me to my question. To be able to do all these things, what is a key to becoming a goaltender that can be this good?
Yeah, for me, I think the most important thing is just staying in the moment. Obviously, there's a lot of outside noise as you go up the levels in hockey, and I think just being able to kind of be where your feet are and just be present and just enjoy the little things that go on, like team dinners with all the guys and just being around the rink and laughing, and smiling, and having fun. I think just really cherishing those moments, and obviously when you get to the big stages, you're just going to be ready to go.
Trey, I think goalies, hockey goalies specifically, are one of the more rare and uncommon type breeds in maybe all of sports. And maybe a path to finding yourself as a goalie can be interesting. And it seems to be different for all the goalies we talk to. When did you discover that, oh, goalie's where I belong, and this is kind of me, this is my identity?
Yeah, my dad got me into learning to skate when I was around 7 or 8 years old. That was my first time ever stepping on the ice, and got me signed up for a mite team shortly after that. And just because we were so young, you kind of had to rotate through the goalies of everyone on the team. And I just always raised my hand, and just from the first game I played way back then, so many years ago, I just always loved it, enjoyed being back there and being there for the guys, and continued to raise my hand after that. And I think that's what kind of really led me to this point.
Trey, does the game have to slow down for you? I mean, when they're attacking the net, it sometimes looks pretty chaotic. How do you sort it all out? Try to figure out where the puck is.
Yeah, a lot of practice, a lot of reps. I think just with how good the players have gotten, it's just kind of for me to be ahead of the play and just recognize things that could potentially happen out there is just kind of my keys to having success.
Well, here comes the big one, Trey. You could be looking at playing in the National Hockey League next season, but you've elected to come back. Why?
I want to win a national championship. I think that's something that this school deserves, and everyone around this program really deserves as well. And I think we have a team that can do that again, and just want to give it my all one last time.
Well, and Trey, there's reason to believe that your team is in that spot. Two-time Big Ten champs in your 2 years in net, but this year, of course, dropped in that first round against Cornell. Can you take us from the moments from that tough, bitter loss to making the decision to come back? How did you reevaluate that Michigan State was that close? How did that fuel you, motivate you to make the decision you did?
Yeah, obviously it was a really tough loss on me and all the guys and everyone around the program. I think we definitely had a team that could have done it this year, and just kind of sucks the way it went out. But it happens, especially in a single elimination tournament like that. Anything can really happen. And I think kind of once that game was over, just kind of me talking with my parents and support staff around me. And obviously I know some of the guys that are coming in and the guys that are coming back. And I think just kind of taking it all in, I realized that I owe it to Michigan State to come back for more year.
So at the end of the day, Trey, you're going to come back to make a run at a national title. That's what you've just said, which everybody's excited about. But at the end of the day, when your time at Michigan State is done, what do you think you'll take away? What do you think you'll remember the most about it?
Honestly, I'd just be playing in front of the fans. I remember coming to the games when I come out here with Coach Nightingale's first year, and the building was a little over half full maybe, and still like a great place to play and everything. But just seeing how almost every weekend now that we have every game sold out and the fans continuously get louder and louder, and just having this atmosphere and environment here, it's just so special. I'm really glad that I could be a part of that.
Well, Trey, congratulations on another great season, and I think next year could be very, very special.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Trey Augustine, the Big Ten's goaltender of the year. Well, when we come back with more of the Sports Life, our parting shots right after this.
So, got one for you, boss.
Oh, yeah?
What's black, white, and dented all over?
I give up.
The company truck. I know, but thanks to our agent, we've already submitted an insurance claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Lucky for you, that's simple human sense.
Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you.
So I graduated last year and got a job. Sweet! But it got boring. I didn't really have a purpose. Then I started volunteering with Community Action. It's a statewide network with 29 agencies across Michigan. Community Action helps people with food, housing, utilities, childcare, senior services, you name it. I found my purpose, helping people, changing lives. Won't you join me? Call 1-855-MI-ACTION or go to MichiganCommunityAction.org. Sponsored by Michigan Community Action and Michigan Association of Broadcasters.
If you have diabetes, listen up. If you have insurance, you can qualify for a continuous glucose monitor. With a CGM, you can continuously track your levels and trends and spend more time in range, significantly lowering your A1C. More importantly, a CGM eliminates the one thing most people with diabetes hate: painful finger sticks. Order your new continuous glucose monitor today. If you use insulin and if you've seen your diabetes care provider within the last 6 months, you may qualify for your own CGM right now. We'll do all the insurance paperwork and deliver your new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. Medicare and most insurances will cover your CGM, so don't wait. Have your insurance handy and call the Aptiva Medical CGM Health Hotline right now.
800-948-6912. 800-948-6912. 800-948-6912. That's 800-948-6912.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
Anybody ready for a burger?
I'm State Fire Marshal Rich Miller, reminding everyone to think safety first when it comes to outdoor grilling, whether it's charcoal or gas. Never overload your grill with food. Excess fat and grease will create large flames. Grill outdoors and never inside or in a garage. Never leave a grill unattended, and always keep a fire extinguisher nearby. For more tips on safe grilling, visit the Bureau of Fire Services website at michigan.gov/BFS.
Medicaid and CHIP offer free or low-cost health coverage for children and teens. Hospital and doctor visits, prescriptions, shots, and more are covered. That's peace of mind for parents if a child is sick or gets injured. And parents may now be eligible for Medicaid too, even if they've applied in the past. Enrollment is always open. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 1-877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
And welcome back for more of the Sports Life. Will Team here along with Dalton Shetler. We had a good show this week. We've hit on several topics. A little college basketball, talked about Ohio State and one of the best hockey players in college hockey. And with that, we have now worked our way to our parting shot. So, Dalton, what do you got?
Well, and if you missed any of that, make sure you give us a follow at Sports Life Now, is where you can find us on Twitter or X. That's, again, at Sports Life Now. We post all those interviews Will just mentioned and the entire show. So, again, make sure you give us a follow there on Twitter or X. What I wanted to do with my parting shot was a bit of a PSA, I suppose. You might be having just some stress around the transfer portal as a fan, right, of any sport, any team nowadays, where you wonder who all is gone. Well, I'm here to tell you the portal for college basketball is now closed on the men's and women's side, so nobody can enter now. And for spring football, that window, it is closing pretty much as we speak. So the names are about to stop going into the portal. People will still move around that are already in there. They'll find new places. But since we're talking about basketball here too for a second, Will, and we've talked so much about the transfer portal today with Ant Wright, college men's basketball at the Division I level saw 2,500 players enter the transfer portal. On the women's side, 1,500 at the Division I level. That's 4,000 collegiate basketball players that are sitting in the transfer portal. Some have already found destinations, but still, when I present to you the number 4,000 D1 basketball players, men and women, it's a bit staggering.
How many announcers got in there?
That's a good question.
Well, my parting shots this week are pretty basic, and I just wanted to take a moment to congratulate the Big Ten and some of the sports that are national champions. Right now, the Big Ten has 9 national championship teams: Northwestern, field hockey; Wisconsin, women's hockey; Oregon, women's indoor track and field; Southern Cal, men's indoor track and field; Penn State, volleyball; Michigan, men's gymnastics; Penn State, wrestling; UCLA, water polo; and Ohio State, football. And with that, that's a wrap for this week's show. And as always, we appreciate everybody joining us. And we should also note that you can find us wherever you find your podcasts, like SoundCloud, Spotify, and Apple. And make sure to check us out and hit subscribe. As always, thanks to the Big Ten Network. The Sports Life is produced by Dalton Shetler and assisted by Owen Cronin. Our executive producer is Wendy Hart. So on behalf of Dalton Shetler, I'm Will Tiemann, and thanks for your time.